Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Keeper of the Home podcast. I'm Cami, your host. Thank you so much for joining me. I am very excited today to just chat with you and share with you why we moved from our home that we had worked so hard to build ourselves from the ground up. Now, last week on my YouTube channel, I revealed the fact that we were moving, shared with you some visuals of what was going on in our lives. And since then, I've had many questions, and many of you have been very curious about why we moved and how we could walk away from the home that we worked so hard to build ourselves from the ground up. So today I hope to answer some of your questions and explain what's going on in our lives and everything that we have planned moving forward. I figured there was no better way to just talk about this than a podcast episode. So hopefully you can get a nice warm drink or a cool drink if it's already very warm where you're at, and join me for a minute as we just chat about this new exciting journey that my family and I have ahead of us that I will most assuredly involve you in and take you along with me. So I hope this fills a gap as we transition from one home to another and take you along with us. But I'll be honest, I'm a little hesitant to just get on here on this podcast episode and just talk about myself. When I started this podcast, I wanted it to be about you. I wanted to get on here and serve you and help you. And so it feels a little weird to just be talking about me and our situation. However, I'm going to wrap it up and kind of bring it home and offer you some life lessons at the end so that you have something that you can take away and apply to your life and to learn from our experiences that we've been going through lately. So stick with me, listen as I share with you why we moved, what's going on, and hopefully you'll be able to glean some inspiration out of it still. Let me just do a quick matters of housekeeping with you. I just want to make sure everyone knows that this podcast is hosted as a video podcast on my Tidbits and Company YouTube channel, as well as in audio format on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you have any platform that you like to listen to podcasts, just go ahead and search Keeper of the Home podcast, and it should pop up for you there so that you can listen on the platform that you prefer. Now, if you're joining me on YouTube, you can see that the backdrop is a little interesting. I'm actually out here in my RV filming this podcast. Life is a little chaotic right now, as moves often are. And so I needed to find somewhere quiet and alone to just spit out this podcast for you. And so we're in our RV. We actually made over another RV. I'm excited to share that reveal with you soon. But today I'm just in here filming, and that's why things look a little bit differently. But hopefully the sound's okay and you can still glean the information that I have for you. Another tidbits that I have in the works are a new line of merch. So if you've been with me, you know I just released some really adorable Keeper of the Home sweatshirts. They're the perfect sweatshirt. They're lightweight, super buttery soft, and I've put 3 different logos on there that say Keeper of the Home so that you have one to choose from. But what's really exciting is so many of you requested t-shirts. So I'm in the process of getting t-shirts manufactured and designed for us with the same Keeper of the Home logos. So if you're excited for some t-shirts to enjoy in these warmer weather months, those are going to be out soon. So make sure you're subscribed to either my podcast, my channel, but it would be even better if you could get onto my newsletter, because I send out a newsletter every single week where I share any updates and new releases. So definitely get on that newsletter. I'll link in the description. And every week I also send a free vintage art download for you to print or just enjoy. So really fun things going on in the newsletter. That's where I love to connect with you. So I hope you'll make sure you're subscribed so that you can stay in touch. All right, let's dig into the story of why we moved. And it starts in a very distinct moment. And I want to take you back to that to kind of share the whole process of what's happening and where we are now. So it was, I think, early December, and we were actually sitting in a restaurant with our kids. We take them out every once in a while out to eat. And I think we were just waiting for a couple of kids to finish up, and my husband has this weird hobby of looking at the real estate market. He loves to see what kind of homes are going up for sale in our area, as well as like states away. He just likes to keep tabs on that, to keep tabs on the real estate market and see what it's doing. It's not like we're invested in it or anything. It's just a curiosity for him. And we were sitting in that restaurant, and I remember it very distinctly, that he kind of stopped and he said, "You will not believe what house is for sale." And of course I was curious. And when he showed me, my jaw just about hit the floor because this home that just went on the market was one that I knew very well. I'd never been in it, but it was in the small town community that I grew up in, which is really only like 10 minutes away from us, or from the home, the pole barn home that we built. And it was a home that I had just adored. It's like set in this little forest of trees. It is this beautiful light blue color and this adorable cottage style shape with cottage style gardens. It's just been this home that I have driven by my entire life because it's on the way to our church. And so at least once a week we're driving by it. And I've always just passed it and thought that is the most adorable old home. And I would give anything to just look inside of it and check it out and see what it's like, because the outside is an absolute dream. Well, when he showed me that this home was for sale, I really had no intention of buying it, but my curiosity got the better of me, and I begged him that we could go and see it and look at it. And I really don't think that's very ethical, because it's a lot of work to show a home, but against my better judgment, I was just desperate to see inside this home. And so we scheduled an appointment, I actually think, for the next day, and we went and looked at this home. Because this home was listed as a for sale by owner, it was the owners that we were communicating with and who we got to meet when we went through it the first time. And they were so friendly. An older couple, but you could still see they had plenty of life and enthusiasm in them, and they were just so fun to meet. Oddly enough, I had never met them growing up, as they even told us themselves. They're kind of keep to themselves kind of folks. And so I had never had the opportunity to meet them, but they are so very nice. And when we went through it the first time, I was just amazed. The inside was absolutely charming, a little outdated. You could tell it had been updated in the 90s but it was still just adorable and charming, and we were all just in awe as we walked through the home. And we came away from that first viewing just feeling like, oh, maybe this is something we want to pursue a little more. And that thought shocked even us as we were trying to grapple with these feelings. And so we actually scheduled a few more appointments to walk through this home, and we got a really close relationship with these owners, really grew to love them, had several hours of chatting. We talked about the history of the home and about all that they'd done to just make it, the outside, just beautiful and immaculate, and how good care they'd taken of this beautiful home. And many times after leaving this home, Kevin and I just kept saying to each other, it just feels right. I can really see us there. The style of the home, the charm, the land, it just really spoke to us, and we fell in love with it. And needless to say, we were absolutely starstruck by this home. And we actually spent several weeks just weighing the pros and cons. Like, are we really even thinking about this? Why would we do it? Why would we not do it? What does our current place have that one doesn't? And what does that have that this one doesn't? And just weighing it all out, as you naturally do when you're faced with a big decision like this. And what it came down to was it mostly just felt like a long shot that we would even be able to get the home. And for some reason, that idea of it being a long shot made it feel less risky to just go for it. Like, we knew in our minds, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so we were willing to just maybe take a step of faith forward, knowing that, well, quite frankly, it was all in the hands of Providence, and we would just see what would happen. So the seller of this home would not consider going under contract with any contingency, meaning that they were not going to even entertain the idea of signing a contract with us unless our house had already sold and we came to the table with the offer that was free and clear and bound to happen. So we knew that in order to get this home, we had to put our home up for sale first, and it had to go, hopefully quickly, and before the other house already sold. So we did it. We actually hired a realtor this time, which normally we just like to do for sale by owner, but we wanted to try to make this happen quickly. Otherwise, it just wasn't going to happen, because as we talked to the other owners, they had many, many people look at this home, and they even told us that they had other potential buyers who had or were putting their house up for sale in order to do the thing that we wanted, which was to eventually sell their home and buy that one. So that's what we did. We got it up for sale I think it was actually the week of Christmas, which made it a little crazy, but we were able to get it up for sale. We didn't see any interest for quite a few weeks, obviously, being the holiday season, but for some reason we were just anxious enough to get things going. And for any of you that have sold a home, you know what an emotional roller coaster that is and how difficult it can be, especially when you have kids in the house, trying to keep it clean, ready for a showing at any time. But we developed some really good cleaning habits that I plan to take with me the rest of our lives. So good deep clean every Saturday, cleaning up every evening. Anyway, it was manageable, but a stressful time, of course, trying to show a home. And we had several viewers. Nothing was happening. There was no interest. We knew that a home with 15 acres was going to be hard to sell because of the price range and because it was probably more than what most people wanted. We still had a lot of unfinished things, totally unfinished landscaping. And so we just, quite frankly, weren't very hopeful. But we just kept going for some reason, holding on to that strange feeling within us that other home just felt so right. Now, I'm going to take a minute to tell you more about this home, and then I'll walk you through some of like the pros and cons and the things that swayed our decision. But it did take several months before we had a solid offer. And the offer didn't even seem that hopeful because the offer on our home was contingent on the other people selling their homes. So it was just this big domino effect. But at that point, because we had an actual contract, we were able to sign on with the buyers of the home that we wanted. So anyway, that's probably more of the story than you need to hear. But let me tell you about this house. So I already told you that it is just this little dream from my childhood. It reminds me of a quaint cottage, something that you might envision out of Anna Green Gables or Pollyanna, or just take you back in time and imagine the most charming exterior of a home that you can possibly imagine. Adorable. It is old. It is built in the 1970s, so it's not like historic, but it's old. And that had some concerns for me. I'm always worried about older homes having mold or other problems. So we got it inspected, thoroughly inspected, tested for mold, and this home just came out free and clear. It was built by a builder and immaculately done. Such good workmanship. Probably better workmanship from the 70s than they even do now today on new homes. Just solid house. And there was not a stitch of mold. The inspector said it came out cleaner on the inspection report than most new homes that he inspects. So we were pleased with that. But the home has the most dreamy landscaping, and it's all finished, which is something that we're obviously just dreaming about. We have not had grass or a yard for many, many years for our children, and just the thoughts of going outside and putting your feet in grass and having landscaping done, that's definitely a big pro. And I know you're all probably anxious to see this place, and I will be sharing tours. I'm really excited about it. I think I'll do a tour of the outside and then the inside in a different video. So hang tight for that and make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. But it's just needless to say, it is charming. And I don't know if you saw the video that I did when I gave you a tour of an Airbnb that we stayed at. It was an older home as well. And when I gave you that tour, I just talked about how I just love old homes. I always have. My husband as well. There's something that's so charming about it. And we've always wanted to get our hands on an old home and just bring it back to life. It's something that we've always wanted to do, but life has never really presented the opportunity until now. But we were really just content with our new home and what we built, and we were proud of it. But I digress. I keep getting distracted. Let me tell you a little bit more about this home. So built in the 70s, the outside is charming, like a little cottage. The inside is full of character. However, you can tell it's been updated and more probably in the 90s. And so it has a very distinct 90s vibe. It is clean. It is well done. But it just feels a little outdated. But honestly, that is what gets us really excited. We're very excited about it, very excited to put our hands to it. It does not need like walls knocked down, major renovations. It just needs some cosmetic changes that I feel will just bring it back to life. I really want the home, the inside, to reflect the charm of the outside, and I don't think it'll take much to get it there. So we're really thrilled to just have a project, I guess, and we really love to do interiors. So that's not intimidating. A lot of people probably walked away from the home because they saw how outdated it was, but for us, the charm was there. It just needed a little bit of help. And we are the ones to do it. So I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to actually show it to you. So let me walk you through some of the pros that we had debated, some of the things that made it seem like the right thing to do, right? And then I'll share some of the cons that just kind of made us a little more hesitant. But for the pros, one of the really big upsides of this new place is that it has a finished shop. And you may know that my husband has started a business called cedarbuiltsaunas.com, which you can go check out, especially if you're local to us. It's more of a local business right now. But anyway, he's been building saunas, and that's been taking off. And it's been very problematic because all we have is a garage for him to build these in. And so we've gone through a summer and a winter without having access to a garage for our cars. And in our winters, that is very challenging, especially when you have a daughter that leaves early in the morning for classes. And then, of course, summer gets super hot. And then just the sawdust in the garage is making me crazy. So we knew that he really needed a shop. And we were trying to decide if it was worth building one, buying one. But it takes a lot of money to build a shop. So it was a major perk right away that this new place had a finished heated shop, and that was super appealing, and an expense that we wouldn't have to now come up with money to figure out how to build. He had looked at places where he could rent shops, but it's basically another mortgage, so that didn't make sense. So basically, for his business to grow and thrive and to be sustainable, we really, really need a shop, and are thrilled that this new place has one. The other thing, this new place is on 5 acres. We currently, or our old home, sorry, this is confusing me, trying to figure out, since we're right in the middle of this move, but the home we built and sold is on 15 acres. And so it's kind of a downsizing as far as land goes, and the location isn't quite as majestic. We live on in the mountains on the most dreamy 15 acres, and it was really hard to think about giving that up. But we have learned that land is expensive. Owning land is very expensive. And the more you own, the more money and time has to go into it. And we weren't really prepared for that. And even though we have so many dreams and things that we would want to put on the 15 acres of our old home, it just felt impossible. Even simple things like getting water to the garden was a huge expense and process. And so we've just learned that the more land isn't always the best. And so this idea that we're downsizing to just 5 acres, which I feel like is still a lot, it seems to have simplified our vision of things and made it feel more attainable. Many of you know that being lavender farmers is a big dream for us. And actually with the 5 acres, it's still very, very much a possibility. In fact, we're going to try to transplant a lot of the lavender that we've already planted and see how it does. But it actually feels more manageable and possible. There's still room for our animals. There's yard for our kids to run around on. So all of that was really hopeful to think about, and just felt like some of these things we've always wanted to do were way more doable. I've already talked about, a finished yard, a home that we can work on, which is a huge joy for us. Not only that, it's also really good for my business. I know a lot of you love to see me make over spaces and refresh them. And so this has more endless amounts of content that I am able to share, which is really good for my business. And then, of course, with the shop there, it's really good for my husband's business. So all things aside, it felt like a really good business decision and business move for us. But that's not the only reason why you would move and uproot your family and walk away from a home that you've built. But those were deciding factors in it. Another really awesome thing is that I'm moving back to the community which I grew up in, which means I'm going to live really, really close to my mom and my sister Marcy, who runs the blog instafreshbills.com. And I'm really excited about that. We'll now be able to go to the same church services as they go to, be involved with the community of people that I've grown up with and love. That's not to say the community that we're in now wasn't absolutely wonderful, but we're not being so displaced to a new place where we don't know anyone. It actually feels a bit like coming home, at least for me. And many of my kids' friends are in that town already. So they're excited about that. They're excited about going to the same church services as their friends. And it's just, as far as community goes, it's a real exciting thing for us. And it's not like we're moving to a whole new place where we don't know anybody. So that's good. And another great thing is this home is actually bigger. Even though we're downsizing on land, the home is bigger, and that allows for just more space, more bedrooms for my kids. And I don't think I've ever shared this here, and I'm a little nervous to share it, but I do feel like this maybe is one of the reasons the Lord led us to this house. Is we've always had the hopes that someday we could get into foster care or adoption for those kids that don't have a home and a family, and we're actually certified and everything, but this home that we were in already felt tight. And so to have 2 more extra bathrooms and more bedrooms for maybe more kids someday, I do feel like that may prove to be one of the main reasons we were led to do this, and hopefully a blessing to others someday. So lots of reasons why this home is appealing. But of course, we weighed the downsides. Number 1, moving is not fun. Moving a home that you've lived in, and a homestead, and animals, and farm equipment, and all of that stuff. Trying to move chickens without a new chicken coop, everything is really overwhelming. And it has been overwhelming, quite frankly. It's been a very difficult process to go through, but we're making it, getting settled. And but that was one of the things that almost scared us away from this, because it felt super daunting to pack everything up and move. One of the hardest things to think about leaving was our view, because we're kind of nestled in the mountains and have this amazing view over the valley. We do a lot of front porch sitting, and we have hiking trails all around our house that we can just go jump on anytime. And leaving that, I guess, privacy and seclusion behind has been really hard, and one of the biggest things that we're going to miss. And it's just difficult to let that go. But we've had to weigh the other things and see that there's still going to be awesome opportunities. And it's still incredibly beautiful. The new home, even though we have a few neighbors, it's still a really small community. There's no stores whatsoever. But there are neighbors and there's people around, and we're not set up on the hillside. But because there are hundreds and hundreds of trees around this home, you actually feel really secluded. You can't hear the highway. You can't hear anything. It's a dream. So we're trading a view for just this little nestled in forest of a home. So that's one thing that we just, I guess, both had good, just different good. But we are going to miss our view and our walking trails, the wonderful community and friends that we're leaving, but I'm sure we'll still see them many, many times. Of course, moving is hard for kids. So we've had to kind of go through some really sad emotions and help our kids work through that and look forward to new things and change. But I know as a kid, your parents move, you feel a little helpless. You just have to go where they say you're going. But overall, they've adjusted and they're all really excited and happy about where we're at now. But of course, whenever you're buying or selling a home, money and finances is very important to consider. And it actually worked out that the value of our home, the value of this new home, was basically a trade. The finished prices for all of them were almost exact. And financially, it was pretty much just a trade-off. The only thing that hurt us is we still have a little bit of a mortgage and interest rates are higher. So our monthly payment until we can pay off this mortgage is a little bit higher, but still doable for us. But we had to weigh the fact that our pole barn home still needed so much work. We needed the shop, like I mentioned, which would have been tens of thousands of dollars. There was still probably tens of thousands of dollars needed on the landscaping and prepping ground for lavender and water lines. Basically, the old home still had so much to do that we just knew that we would still be pinching pennies to make all that happen, since it was on virgin ground and we were carving it out ourselves, which is exciting, but also overwhelming and financially straining. So when you take that kind of trade, it feels like it evens out. The downside to the new home is it needs a new roof, and we've known that the whole time going in. It's had the original wood shingles from the time they bought it, which are supposed to last, 50 years, but their time is up, and we know that it needs a new roof, which is going to be an expense, but not as much as everything would have been in our old home. So financially, we felt like it was a pretty good trade. I've mentioned we want to make changes on the inside, and I just want to go about this more responsibly. I don't want to do it quickly. I don't want to just go in and pull good things out. This home has kept its original state of just about everything, like cabinets and doors. There is new carpet in there, but it's from the 90s. And so what needs to be done is mostly cosmetic and stuff that we can easily just wait on and be patient with. Other changes, like simply painting kids' bedrooms and making it cute, can be done very affordably. So it still gives me some things to do, but we can be patient and responsible, not take out debt and not strain ourselves to just make these changes happen slowly. So I guess I just want to warn you that these makeovers and renovations probably won't be fast, as I really just want to be super responsible for our family and make this a long-term project that we really just enjoy living in the space, getting to know it, getting a feel for what we truly want, what kind of things we can do that are so timeless, just like the house itself, and just getting to know it and figuring it out. So I'm not in any hurry to change anything. It's cute and charming, and I'll work with it. Some of our furniture may not go, but we'll just enjoy the process over time rather than spending so much like landscaping would take, for example. I just feel like financially it is way more doable. So hopefully by seeing the pros and cons and all the things that have been going through our heads about why we would actually do this, why we would move, I hope it makes a little more sense for you and that you can kind of start to relate. And in truth, a lot of people that have known we were doing this, friends, family, they are very confused because I don't mean to brag, but our home that we sold was so beautiful. We'd worked so hard on it. And as an onlooker, it just makes no sense why we would trade it for this older home that is outdated. But some people understand. And I had my friend Mandy actually send me this little article that she read in the Magnolia magazine. I don't know, it doesn't say the author on the screenshot that she shared with me, but it's in the Magnolia magazine. And she shared it with me. And I just feel like some people get it. Some people get this drive and desire that we have to put our hands to something that has history and character and charm. And so I want to read this short little essay to you because I really feel like it exudes so much of our why, and it helps you see how we can make this kind of decision and what's going through my head. So I'm going to read this little article. Definitely check out the Magnolia magazine if you want to read it yourself, but I'm going to read it for you as well. I'm standing in the doorway of my living room, passing a freshly cut set of keys between my fingers. For nearly a century, a variety of folks have called this place home, and as of today, it's mine. To my left is a stack of cardboard boxes waiting to be opened and emptied, but for now, I'm taking it all in. I take a step into the room and hear the wood floors creak, noticing how the warm sun has faded them except for a long rectangle where a sofa must have been, but not where mine will go. The paint on the windowsill is chipping, revealing at least 3 coats, at least 3 different lifetimes. Underneath the white is a warm gray, and underneath the gray is a deep green. I wonder about the people who lived here before, and the ones before them, and the ones before them. As I take measurements and make plans for how I'll arrange my furniture, my mind wanders to all the memories this room must hold. The parties and arguments and the heartbreaks and laughter and the Christmas mornings and mundane Tuesdays. I daydream, too, about all the possible versions this room might have taken on over the past 100 years. Perhaps bold patterns eventually giving way to clean lines, or a delicate formal sitting room traded in for a cozy family lounge. I feel a strange sense of awe as I consider the storied past of this place. All this room has already held, all it has yet to. Because now I'm standing in a living room that is technically mine, but doesn't quite yet feel like home, still daydreaming about all the life these 4 walls must have seen as the sun slowly dips behind the big tree in the front yard, causing light to dapple and dance across the room. I realize I've never been in here at this time of day, in this light. Something about the magic of this moment causes my mind to race with potential. I shift from imagining all this room has been to suddenly longing for all that it will be. I step into the sunlight twinkling across the floor where the last owner's couch had been and envision my grandma's long oak dining table, surrounded with my friends' laughter at a dinner party. I look to the other side of the room at the fireplace mantel and wonder how different it'll look with the passing of each season, adorned with my art and vases and keepsakes. I feel myself getting butterflies as I imagine a new era for this room, a new chapter in its long history, only this time filled with my things, my heirlooms, my stories. I open the coat closet and pull the chain, turning on the light. I take a step back and look at myself in the mirror, hanging on the inside of the door. I think to myself that I look older than I remember, and the thought causes me to laugh. The floor creaks again, and I suddenly realize that I am not unlike this room. I, too, am aged and storied and holding within me a lifetime of memories. I, too, have taken on many different versions of myself, some of which still feel familiar and some of which feel like strangers. I, too, am free to change, free to rearrange, free to take on new stories, and I, too, am still brimming with the potential of all that is yet to be. And I loved that when my friend sent that to me. It just spoke to me and just made sense. That sort of old history is so endearing to me. And I've got to tell you a little bit of the story of this home that we learned from the current owners, or at least the owners before us. So they told us that the home was built in the 70s, right? For some reason I wanted to say 50s, but I'm pretty sure it's the 70s. So the builder of this home, his wife, whom I know very well, I grew up with her. She had a major influence in me in my youth, and I love her dearly. Her name is Linda. And I learned that Linda brought a picture or saw some sort of dollhouse and told her husband that she wanted him to build her this home, a home that was a replica of this dollhouse that she loved. And that is why the home is so charming and so unique. It doesn't look like a home from the 70s. It looks absolutely like a dollhouse. And I love that Linda had that vision. I love that, as the previous owners told us, that her husband had to work hard to make function fit into form to make this home for her. But it has history, it has story, it has beauty, and the thoughts of tending to Linda's dollhouse gives me those butterflies inside. I just cannot wait. I want to bring the inside to match that charm of the outside and to make it feel like a dollhouse inside and out. And I'm just so excited to walk the same floors that Linda did and to just basically manage her dollhouse as she did and just love it like she did. It just really just brings me so much joy to imagine the years that I get to tend to Linda's dollhouse. Linda is an incredible keeper of her home. She has given many, many years of service to her home and family. I've talked to her children that remember special times in this home. I really hope to bring Linda back into the home and have her share stories with me. I know she's very aged and wearing down, but I hope I get to spend some time with her in this home and just reminisce and pass those stories on to my own children and to just keep this home alive and keep it full of life. And I hope in explaining that it makes more sense why we moved, what we have before us, and that you're excited to follow along. Now, I have just a few life lessons to leave with you that I have learned through this experience of packing up and moving to something that I never, ever dreamed would happen in our lives. But first of all, the first lesson I want to share with you is I really truly believe, or have come to believe, that the Lord plants desires in our hearts. Desires that will lead us to action, desires that will lead us on a path that He has planned for us, or that He knows He can use our lives to bless others. I believe He plants those desires in our hearts, and I've felt that desire. I've even fought against this desire, thinking surely that the home we built and the land that we'd grown to love was our land of our inheritance. But I feel like the Lord planted these desires in our hearts to look further, that He had something even better ahead for us. And I do hope that these desires will bear fruit for Him, that this home will be a blessing not only for us and my children, but for others who may need a home. And so I'm just sure that He works that way, as I've felt that so many times in my life. And so I hope that you can be encouraged by that there are perhaps desires in your heart that will lead you to a different path at some point, or lead you to something that He has in store for you to help and serve. I think we have to be careful that our desires are not unrighteous desires, and that we can know that they are from the Spirit of the Lord if they are righteous desires, and that if they will lead us to do good and to serve the rest of His children on this earth, I believe they do come from Him. So that has been something that I've really felt during this process, even as we thought it wouldn't happen, and it just all fell together to make it happen. Another really important lesson I learned recently. So I was actually at my hairdresser's house and we were talking, and my hairdresser, Krista, she's wonderful. I love chatting with her, and she has been kind of where we're going. She had an older home and they worked so many years to make it absolutely beautiful inside and out. And her and her husband are very much DIYers. They actually work construction professionally with hairdressing on the side, but like she is familiar with pouring your heart and your hands into a home. And she shocked me by this statement that she made that has just sunk deep into my heart. This other home that they were in, they put so much work into it and actually sold it to go to a newer home that just required less work, which has turned out to be a blessing for them as they've faced some health challenges. But when I was telling her about the cosmetic changes that I was excited to make in this home, I was just so surprised because I told her I was excited and she said, "Or you don't have to do any of that." And I was just shocked. I'm like, Krista, of all people, you would know that you want to change things and make your home your own. But she impressed upon my heart when she continued to say, she looked back on photos of their old home and how much work they put into it. And she had a realization that it didn't matter. None of those updates or new fancy things mattered. When everything was outdated and old, they were still happy. That these new things aren't necessarily going to make you happier or closer to your family. And so she just reminded me, yeah, you could go make those changes or not, and you'll still be happy. And that has really, really touched my heart as I've just realized I can go into this home and not change anything, and we can be extremely happy. And if that's what happens, so be it. I'm sure we'll do some things over time, but it has just caused me to look at this with more patience, more longevity in mind, and to just be happy where we're at. Not always looking for new, bright, shiny things. Just be content with what the Lord has given us and enjoy every minute of it. So I was really grateful for that lesson that she taught me through this process, and I'm holding it very, very dear to my heart. Another thing I've learned is we've had to walk away from something that we worked so hard to build. As we've kind of joked with each other, like, are we crazy? Why are we doing this? Are we just ungrateful? Are we always thinking it's greener pasture on the other side? And that didn't feel right, honestly. We felt like it was something else moving within us. We've always been so grateful for this home that we've built and the experience. But that's what it's been about. The experience of building our own home, showing our children that you can work hard and build something from scratch, and how rewarding that is, has been a life experience that we will treasure. Even though we are walking away from it, those experiences still come with us. Those memories come with us. They will remain with my children. We will always drive by this house with such fond memories. And I'm excited to just take those with us onto the new adventure and the new journey. And I think we can just think about that life is more about the experiences than the actual things. And to remind myself of that was one of the things that gave me the most peace as we had to pull away from this home and give it to another family, another sweet, sweet family who gets to carry on the vision for this home and this land. It has really, truly been about the experience, and that's made it a little easier to walk away. Something else that we learned that kind of came as a surprise as I discovered it in my mind. We wondered how we could leave this home that we'd built, and we realized that although we were so proud of it and our hard work had paid off, we'd finished the inside, things were getting more comfortable, there was this strange underlying trauma within it. Because if you listen to the podcast where I brought my husband on and we talked about the reality of building a home, the last 4 years of building this home have in reality been very, very difficult. We've been stretched for time and money, have had to pinch every penny and every minute of our lives to make it happen. And while it's been worth it, and the experience we've learned and gained through it has been worth it, there's also been this layer of trauma associated with our pole barn home that I think was part of the reason we felt led to get away from it. That sounds terrible, but I really feel like there is some of that all the work that is still needed to be done around that place, it just almost felt exhausting. We were tired, quite frankly. Our visions had faded. Our hopes had kind of fizzled. And the trauma of the difficulty of the 4 years had kind of taken its toll. And to go into a new home that has already had someone else pour that hard work into it is almost a relief, and something that has kind of healed our hearts. And this is something I did not expect. And so that might just give you some food for thought. If you found yourself in a situation that you had to walk away from and didn't understand why you felt like it was a good place to be, maybe look at some underlying factors and think if there's some pain points that come with that experience that maybe you would do better without. And I'm not to say that if we had stayed, we wouldn't have gotten over those. We wouldn't have continued on and been perfectly happy. I'm sure we would have. But there is a part of us that feels like this weight has been lifted off of our shoulders, and it's brought a new excitement for life and a new vision. We are dreamers by nature, and all of a sudden our dreams feel alive again, and we don't feel so exhausted. So it really has been quite a blessing. All right, my friend, I've talked too long. I'm sorry, but I hope that has answered your questions or fulfilled your curiosity on why in the world we would move and leave the home that we built. And I hope that just answered it all. And thank you so much for joining me. I cannot wait to show you the new home. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss that. Really excited to share it and to take you along. I'm so grateful that you would follow me and be with me and allow me to do that. Thank you. I will be back very soon to share it all and to keep inspiring you as the keeper of your home.